Austrian Audio is kind of a new-ish company. They released their first line of headphones maybe 2 years ago, the X55 and the X50 and so on, and they were all close backs, and they were received with mixed impressions because they had like pretty wonky frequency response curves that did sound like they looked. So yeah, maybe they were usable in a kind of a professional context, where you're really looking for mistakes and you're not looking to kind of enjoy music or have like a neutral frequency response. I'm not knowledgeable enough to talk about that, but I got pretty curious. After this first line, they released the second line of their headphones, the X60 and the X65, which I have here, and which is their first open back headphone. There are not many reviews out there for the X65, but those who talked about it were actually pretty impressed by the technical abilities and just the overall sound signature. And I looked the frequency graphs for the X60, for the X60, the closed back version of the X65, and both are actually pretty good. Like they have kind of a really good bass extension, like really into low bass, and then they have this kind of typical hi-fi man dip, which kind of widens the soundstage and pretty good extended treble. So all in all, I was really looking forward to using these, and yeah, I think I'm done now with the intro. Let's just start with the full review. So the one thing all Austrian Audio headphones have in common is the phenomenal build quality. If the autofocus is nice to me, then yeah, you can just look how well they are built. They feel even better. There's a lot of metal here in the headband and in the hinges and everywhere, and where you can find plastic, like in the ear cups here, I think this is hard plastic. It's really like it feels really well, really sturdy. And I really like this kind of industrial design with a lot of matte black and gray. It's nothing flashy here. All of their headphones kind of look like this, and you can actually see, oh well, this is an Austrian Audio headphone. Like you can recognize any of them as being from this company. You just have the usual stuff here with your markings, your name tag and the kind of logo and the name. I really like the grill. This is plastic here again, but feels really well built. Again, everything is really built sturdy and does not feel fragile at all. These actually remind me of the more professional biodynamics like the DT7070 and the DT9090, which are also kind of built like tanks. Ear cups are movable and even foldable. So this is something you usually do not see. I mean, some more professional kind of working level headphones are foldable, but you don't expect these with this design to be like foldable. Padding does feel really good. It really does not feel cheap and like there is some higher quality foam inside there. And a big plus here is you have these cable thingies here, but they are not sticking out. There's no danger to accidentally like tear them out here. Of course, they are like coiled and really close to the ear cup. So that's actually a nice thing they thought about here. You get two cables with the Austrian Audio headphones, a shorter one and a longer one, and they are both kind of like just okay cables. Like they are not nothing fancy again, but they feel really good, and it's a good standard cable. What can I say here? Though I did have an issue where I was kind of, this only happened once, and since then never again, but I really have to mention that here. One time I was just using them and I was feeling, well, they somehow sound different. Like this doesn't sound right here. Like they were not like mono sounding, but just some contact is not really the sound was just a little off. And I figured out that somehow I touched the cable and moved it a little bit, and then the sound changed again. And then I tried to reproduce the issue with like just moving the cable here and on my amplification, and even with using the second longer cable, and I could reproduce it on this day, like moving the cable here. The cable somehow does lose connection, just like partly, I guess. So it's not full, like it doesn't turn off, or again, just the sound changes. And I could reproduce this with the other cable, and with the end that's plugged in the headphone, and with the one that's plugged in the amplifier. And that was kind of, well, little disappointing, because the first time it kind of just happened without me doing anything special. So I would just touch the cable, I guess, with my shoulder or anything. After that day where I could reproduce it, I tried it again and nothing happened. So that was just kind of weird, but since it has never happened again since that day, I think it's okay, and I don't think the cables are broken, because this happened with both of these cables. Maybe it's just the way the cable is constructed, because you can actually, like, this is not tightly in here. You can actually move this thing here around a bit, like into the end of the connector here. You can actually move just a little bit, and somehow this little bit is enough sometimes to lose connection, I guess. But again, has never happened then, even not accidentally, and even with me doing stuff here, I think it's fine now. Who knows what happened there? All in all, it's really well built. Regarding comfort, even though these appear to be really sturdy and well made, these are also extremely light, and to me, like, really perfectly comfortable. And the padding on the headband takes good care of any weight that is left here. Even though this is kind of separated in two, it works really well and actually helps you with not getting like warm under the headband or anything. The padding they used for the ear cups and the headband is the same, and it's kind of in the, again, fake leather memory foam type of stuff. And the memory foam here is really well made. Like, this is extremely soft. I know you cannot really see this in the video, but it feels extremely well made, and you do not feel any plastic or hard surface. They kind of boast with their special memory foam, but it is definitely noticeable that they used different stuff and not just some cheaply made standard memory foam. As you can see, the ear cups are more oval shaped than round, and they are actually pretty big. My ears are maybe kind of average, something like that, and I usually do not have problems. But even if you have like really big ears, I think these will fit perfectly well. There is a considerable amount of clamping force, so they sit firm on your head, but again, the padding takes good care of everything, and you do not feel like an extreme pressure on the sides of your head or anywhere else. It just sits really well on your head and doesn't move around or anything. The sliders are pretty clicky and kind of lock in position when they are on your head, but they are pretty easy to move. So it often happens to me that when I'm putting these on, like I just take them from the desk here, I accidentally move the sliders and I have to kind of change the sliders to my preferred setting. So that's just like a really minor thing. All in all, they work perfectly fine. And to me, the range here is pretty fine. Like, I have these on the I don't know if you can make this. Yeah, they're kind of on a second step there. And you can extend them to, I think it's 7 or 8. Together with the padding, these should fit you well, even with a bigger and even with a smaller head. With the sliders all the way in, these will fit smaller heads too really well. So all in all, just as with the build quality, Austrian Audio made these extremely comfortable too. And I think for a headphone that uses not like some cloth or velour type, these are actually one of the most comfortable with this kind of padding that I have ever used. And I really like to wear these even for hours, and I do not get sweaty. I do not feel any pressure. It's really really well done. So sound wise, well, first of all, again, Austrian Audio's first headphones were received kind of differently. So for example, the X55, which is one of their closed back professional headphones, and like before the X60, it was the former flagship closed back, and it has a really weird frequency response when it comes to music listening. It looks like a V. Just look it up. It's like huge elevations in the mid bass and then 1K and again and in the treble, and it really dives deep in between. Like it's apparently that made it unlistenable for some, and I can imagine just from looking at it because it just looks really unusual. Still, I want to try that and that one in future because I mean it's just a graph, so maybe I like it. Who knows? And I'm not a professional, so maybe these kind of weird frequency responses help with finding mistakes in recording or whatever. I mean, they must have thought of something when they created these, so I think there has to be a reason there. So again, many reviewers were pretty critical, and then Austrian Audio released the X60, the closed back, and the X65, which I have here, which are their new flagship closed and open back models. And what can I say? They went with a Hi-Fi Man-like neutral tuning, so a way more normal tuning for music listening. Both headphones are kind of similar, tuned with a dip in the upper mid range, which also Hi-Fi Man usually has to kind of widen the stage. The X65 has really good extended bass and even a slight warmness in the lower mid range and the upper bass, but it's still really neutral and tight bass. It does not sound lean or something. Neutral headphones always are in kind of danger of sounding really bass light, and you're like kind of missing out on something there. But I don't have the feeling with these. They are really really good extended and really tight and a little bit punchy sometimes, and it's definitely more like bass is definitely more present here than in the DT880 or the AKG K72, like kind of really popular neutral headphones. And I think it maybe is on the same level as the HD 560S. It just sounds like not more in quantity, but it does sound more refined. Just a really clean, even kind of planar magnetic like bass because it sounds really fast and it's just really defined. And what I really like here that at no point does it sound thin or again bass light. Still, it is obviously not a bassy headphone. Again, it's really well extended, and going into the lower mid range, there's a little bit of warmth there that kind of takes the edge off the treble and gives the instruments like a realistic feel of a body that's there. The mid range as a whole is slightly elevated, and that again makes instruments and vocals sound really real and detailed and full. Like they do not have this thin and kind of brittle feeling to instruments as like a lot of reference headphones do have. And actually, I kind of like everything here. Nothing sounds plasticky or hollow. Voices are present but not overdone and kind of on the same level as instruments. Like nothing is pronounced more than the other. Like a lot of hi-fi headphones, again, it is somewhat recessed around 1 to 2K, which I think gives the X65 a wider soundstage and just a better sense of space. It is a less intimate headphone though, so it sounds everything does not sound far away or anything, just not extremely close to your ear or something. That also takes a little tech off of most instruments and makes them sound more open, again similar to Hi-Fi Man here. After that dip, it basically goes straight up and follows the 2008 Harman target curve with an even better extension in the upper treble. So you do have a kind of bright sounding headphone. But at no point the X65 was fatiguing to me. I think that is maybe also because there aren't really any strong peaks or dips in the treble. It's just really a, I wouldn't say smooth because it is bright, but it's not peaky or grainy or anything. It's just like really a straight through good extended. I don't know how to say that. Still, it does not hide any sibilance, and the treble is present enough and could be too much if you're sensitive. Still, I think most people will be fine here. I always try to hear how strong the cymbals are in the mix, and they are pronounced, but not piercing. So they sound very real and kind of shimmer through the music. Treble as a whole manages to sound clear and bright without being gritty. And this kind of airiness that you get in the upper treble makes the sound even more open. Higher pitched voices are kind of intense. I think that is kind of a standard with somewhat bright headphones. Just like these kind of higher pitched voices feel a little more closer to you and are like a little more strong or pronounced than all the other stuff. But usually it's everything is basically on the same level. I really like the overall sound signature here. They somehow worked it out how to give enough kind of body and fullness to the instruments and vocals while still like retaining a lot of clarity and not having anything sound veiled. Technicalities here are just awesome too. They have a somewhat wide soundstage, I would say, definitely above average in width, and the imaging within the stage is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, like you can pinpoint any little thing here because everything is just so well separated. The difference here between listening to other headphones that separate instruments and voices well and do not brush over smaller things is that it's just way easier to do this with the X65. It is like a really clear picture where each color, like no matter how much of it is used in the painting, is distinctively separated from the others and put in a specific place that you can really see and feel in the music while nothing feels detached from another. Like I can really enjoy listening to music with these really well because they do not have this cold sound that some analytical headphones have. And listening to well mixed music or soundtracks that are produced with a certain stage is just great. But that doesn't take away from music listening as a whole. Like I can listen to anything with these and it will sound at least good to me. As a side note, since the whole staging is so awesome, I think it would be really good to use these for competitive gaming. Just the whole layering of the sound and the soundscape and the detail extraction, everything is just really well done. I've been reading a little bit about macro and micro dynamics, and to me, this seems like a pretty, I don't know, maybe dynamic headphone. Especially regarding the microdynamic ability of a headphone, so the ability to show the change in volume of transients like instruments like percussions. I found the X65 to be really capable. Again, talking about cymbals, you can really hear the after reverb of a hit by the drummer. That just sounds really real and it does not end in an instant or sounds blunted or anything. Regarding macrodynamics, so the ability to not sound compressed, so the ability to show the different volume of different things that are going on. Again, it does not sound compressed to me, and you can make out the various differences in loudness. But since you can also hear a lot of detail, maybe it is like a little bit compressed to, elevate the finer things that are going on in the song. I don't know if I'm really knowledgeable enough to talk about that, but yeah, just a few notes of mine here. So all in all, for me, the Austrian Audio Hi-X65 was definitely worth its price tag. I think it's currently around 350 euro, which is a lot of money, but you can get a lot of good sound out of these. And even though I'm really impressed by the technical abilities of the Hi-X65, I can still enjoy listening to music with these. I'm not bored, or I'm not thinking, oh well, I miss anything. It's just such an extremely good headphone for me, and I think a lot of people who like neutral but not boring sound should really take a look at these. So that's it for this review. I hope I could help you on your search for the perfect headphone for you. And yeah, see you next time. Goodbye.